World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Hello, and welcome once again to another Tuesday where we do what we do best, which is help you. And I say we because it's more about a community. It's not just about me doing what I do right here for you right this minute, but it's about we getting this information out there to us so that we can improve, help us get to that next level, because I'm always asking when are we going to repeat what history has already shown us that we can do? When? I can still go back to those articles and books that I just read over the last couple of weeks and months and years and still think about all of the amazing accomplishments that we as a race have already done. And now we have to find our way right back to it. So with this show and with all the shows that are here on Soul City, this is what our attempt is to do, to help you get back to where you rightfully should be. It's not that challenging. It's not that hard. It's actually pretty simple. When you decide to get out of your way and allow for us who are professionals, who are equally passionate in our own rights about how we know what we can do for our community. So our community, I'm telling you, it's overdue time. It is overdue time. So welcome to Leverage Your Score, where I, your dress down CEO Tyrone Glover, do what I do, which is help you get that credit piece in line, in order. And to do that, it takes a couple of hard punches to the gut to get you to understand there's one building tool out there, and that's credit. One building tool, credit. It's the one building financial transaction method that really, obviously, if used appropriately, will do what it needs to do. We've made our mistakes. We took our lumps. We now see that we are in trillion-dollar economies. If we do not finally understand how money works, I feel bad. I feel sad, not bad. I feel sad for those who will continuously stay in their own way. But here at Soul City with the great, amazing Dr. Yana B, I'm always so pleased to be part of anything that this beautiful, wonderful, talented, impressive woman does when it comes to the financial understanding. She's helped me understand what I need to do, which makes me better at discussing what I need to do here on Soul City and for my show. So Leverage Credit Recovery. All I can say is get on board, folks. Get on board. We are professionals and we want to help you take it to that next level. So today we're going to continue our series. We've had a 3-part series and it's now turned into a 4-part series. And it's pretty cool to see how this is evolving and turning into a great storyline for how you can literally get yourselves out of some of these financial burdens and stressors and holes that you find yourself in. Because I'm telling you, trillion-dollar economies. We're old enough that we've seen it go from $1,000, $100,000 companies to $1 million companies to $1 billion companies and now $1 trillion companies. How do you think they're making this much wealth? Definitely off of our money, So we got to get smarter as to making our money work more and more effectively for us in our communities. All right. But today, as I said, we're going to continue where we left off. There are 3 parts to this already. So go back, check out last week's episodes or the weeks previously. It's right here on Facebook. It's on StreamYard. It's on YouTube. By every stretch of the understanding, you got to understand how powerful Soul City is. They're on Comcast. They're on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV. I mean, just doing that thing, and it's impressive to be part of this organization. So literally go back, look on those various outlets that I just mentioned, and find those previous shows, and then tune in every single week. Not just to mine, Dr. Yana B. Again, I'm a little small, tiny piece. She is this massive, impressive understanding of financial wealth that you must tune in for. You must tune in for. All right. So as I said, we're going to continue where we left off. And where we left off last week was investing in communities' wealth. We have to learn how to do this part. We have to learn how to, and I said, go back to those previous shows. You'll be right up to point where we are right now. But it's just knowing what and how to. And we got to invest in that youth. The youth population is going to help with making sure that the course correction that we're going to be making is going to do what it needs to do. All right, do what it needs to do. I'm 57 years old, and it's impressive to be able to tell my students that, because they'll look at me and they'll go, "There's no way. There's no way." And I kept telling them there, this gray is wisdom. Right? These words coming out of my mouth is academia and education. And these looks are just godly. I know it's kind of funny to say that, but that's what it is. I live a healthy life. I attempt to live a healthy life and a happy life and a stress-free life because I know how to put these things into priority. Now that I understood how to make the money work in that regards too, oh man. But investing in communities' wealth. We're going to be highlighting the importance of circulating wealth within the African-American communities. We're going to be presenting research findings on the longer durations of money circulation within African communities compared to other demographics. And it's pretty sad to know that our wealth doesn't stay in our community long enough for it to do what it needs to do. It used to. And all I'm saying is we have to get back to where that was. And sometimes we overdo it. And I first hand up, we overdo it when it comes to not having the proper money management skills. And it's not that hard to put that all into a perspective, especially now that, as I said, we got wisdom, we got youth, we have technology, we have experience, we have all of those dynamics, and plus we have the massive amount of wealth that's out there. So for us not to be capitalizing, that we cannot continue to keep going down that road. Doesn't matter which political party, cycle, whatever it is. I like the feds because the feds will not allow for this government to do whatever the presidents that you may or may not like do that's going to hurt that economy. It's just not going to. And for anyone out there screaming and hollering, "Oh, the economy's so bad, listen to Real Money shows, and Real Money shows will tell you the truth about the economy. It really is not that bad. It's not that bad. It's actually making the rich richer. You know who you should be pointing the finger at? It's not at any political leader. You should be pointing the finger at your local or your regional or your national business, because they are making out like nobody's business. But they know we're consumers. Perfect word. And I think I said it many times in other shows. They know we're consumers. So we're going to consume the products that they continuously put out there. They have trained us so well that we will not stand in front of their stores in protest, but we'll stand in front of all these courts and crazy notions of how sometimes people get into their politics. But again, think about it. Think about it. Don't think about it because I'm saying it. Think about it now because maybe light bulb might have come on. All right. The stores that we visit, the prices that they keep jacking up. You're talking to somebody who comes from that industry. But anyway, we have to do a better part at making sure that we're investing in communities of color. All right. Circulating wealth within African-American communities is vital for fostering economic empowerment, reducing disparities, and promoting overall community well-being. Here are some key points highlighting its importance. Community empowerment. When wealth circulates within African American communities, it supports local businesses, creating job opportunities, stimulates economic growth. This empowers individuals and families to build wealth, invest in education and entrepreneurship, and contributes to the prosperity of their community. And I can be the first to tell you, absolutely true. Since I have come back to Yonkers, and the next year planning on having a big bash because it would be my 10th year back here in Yonkers, and I'm super excited about what I have been able to accomplish, what I've been able to see, and how I'm now going to be able to really go in and do what I really wanted to do with the understanding of when I first got here. Because clearly in your first 1 or 2 years, no, you're not going to move very many needles. With inside a company, yes, if they're willing and open. So inside a city with a lot of demographics, then clearly you have to find the willing participants. Not even your own always sometimes will support your cause. And that for me, I can now understand, because as I look back and think about education, we've allowed ourselves to be dumbed down. Not saying that anyone is dumb, because that's rude, but we've allowed ourselves to go through a transitional piece where, if applied properly, would last 300 or more years. And I'm talking about the Willie Lynch letters. And it's been a plan. The Willie Lynch letters focused on slavery, and that just it elongated into now what we have now, which is just almost blind obedience to stuff. And we really have to change our mentality about how we're going to empower our youth, how we're going to make sure that we empower individuals and families to get out there. But we have to have a process, or a banking process, that's going to work with us. And a lot of times we can clearly see that it doesn't. And that goes back to what I started earlier, which is credit. Credit is a vital building mechanism. If you're not using it properly, which we have made our mistakes, all of us have made our mistakes, and that's okay. It is okay. And the importance of what we now know is that it's going to help you recover that much faster. Because of, again, as I said, what we now know. And what we now know is that you shouldn't be walking around here with 100% of guilt over your financial circumstances. Absolutely not. That's the beauty of knowing what I know, that would be able to help you understand, well, damn, when you look at it in that perspective, wow, that makes perfect sense. And that's why we have to be open to listen to our community and the individuals. Now with fresh faces. When I came here 10 years ago, they didn't know me. They still don't know me in the manner in which they will get to know me, but it's going to be quite impressive of a journey. But we have to make sure that we're building wealth, investing in education and entrepreneurial. I got this 14-year-old that I get to see every Saturday, and it's really so impressive. We meet at the Yonkers Public Library, and this young man, Daniel, again, I wish I was as smart as he was at 14. I wish I was as smart now as he was now that he's 4. It's impressive to see. The youth have this drive. They have this want, and that's so impressive. And if we bottle that in the proper manner, oh goodness, with compounding that with, again, all the wealth that's out there, compounding that with the education and the brilliance of, again, the wisdom of age and experience. It's truly amazing. But we'll get there, I'm sure. And if we don't get there in my lifetime, the contributions that I will be putting towards, the contributions that Dr. Yana B will be putting forth, the contributions that Soul City Network will be putting forth, that's more than enough for me. And I'm sure with that, it'll grow this community into exactly what we need, an economic growth for our community. All right. Wealth retention. Keeping wealth within the community helps to prevent the outflow of resources to external entities. Instead of spending money outside the community, circulating wealth internally allows for the greater control over economic resources and decision-making processes, leading to greater self-determination and autonomy. Yes, need anything else be said about that? Yes, keeping it within our communities. That's not being selfish. That's kind of being selfless, because we're still going to engage with the outside communities, but we're going to take care of home first, getting those quality businesses back here in our own homes. It's just consumerism. Other outside influencers will want to come into our neighborhood, but we won't sell our soul just to have them with us. And that's the beauty of now knowing what we now know. You got to want to know what we know. I'm telling you, there's more wealth out there than ever before. Our economy is doing amazing things because I've been watching it for at least intensely for the last 4 years, but have always had my fingers in it due to the business background that I come from, and now being able to incorporate that into academia. Ladies and gentlemen, I've already said it. We've dumbed ourselves down. Not we purposely, but we followed a process that allowed for certain elements that were in academia to be stripped away from academia. And we now need to focus back on making sure that even if they don't get it from academia, well, they should be getting it from us who understand that those things have been stripped away for a sole purpose. And that purpose is to make sure that our wealth went to other neighborhoods and other businesses and other companies instead of staying right here in our companies. And our companies are we, all right? Social capital. Strong economic networking, network within African-American communities fosters social capital, including trust, and slow it down. Remember I told you, have that little bit of a reading challenge every so often. So collaboration, this sense of community, solidarity enables individuals and businesses to support one another, access resources, and navigate economic challenges more effectively. So by just having that social capital, knowing how to properly network, go out there and meet, again, our Hispanic brothers and sisters, our Middle Eastern brothers and sisters, our Caucasian brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter. Poor is poor. Poor doesn't see whether or not what color you are. And for all of us who think that, okay, because I'm of a certain ethnic group, I'm going to be entitled to. No, it's not like that any longer, folks. It is not like that any longer. You're talking to somebody who's been around there in those trenches with you for an extended period of time, enjoying every minute of it. Now that I look back on it, but definitely wasn't enjoying it as I was going through it. There was some highs and some lows, those ebbs and flows that comes with anything. But now being able to be in a position where I am to be able to effectively communicate, give you some of my wisdom along with a lot more of where this all came from. And you're probably thinking, well, how do you get your information? Well, trust me when I tell you, there's a lot of combining of resources that gets me this. And one of the best places that I can tell any person to go to is the CFPB. It's a government agency. Yes, a government agency, Consumer Financial Protections Bureau. It provides you with so much that you have no other choice. And you know, we as an audience, unless it's something super, super sexy or super, super horrifying, we're not going to pay much attention to it. But when it comes to our money, well, that should not just be super, super sexy. That should be stratospheric in any understanding. You should want to know how your money works. And if you do not, well, you're going to constantly keep giving it to those who do. Just that simple. All right. Multiplier effect. The multiplier effect occurs when money spent within a community circulates multiple times, generating additional economic activity and benefiting various stakeholders. By circulating wealth within African-American community, each dollar spent has the potential to create a ripple effect of positive economic impact. Take a pebble and drop it in a lake, a body of water. What do you get? Get those little waves. Take a bigger boulder and drop it in that same pond. Guess what you get too? More waves, bigger waves. So what kind of boulder are we going to continuously keep throwing into our money pot, our money ocean, or whatever it is that you want to call our money lake? Are we going to continue to keep throwing pennies in there? Because that's what we do. We fight over pennies. Pennies, while billions and now again trillions are being put into companies that we keep buying their devices. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with commerce. Nothing. Love Apple, love Microsoft, love Dell and Nike and Adidas and Snapple and you name it. You name it. Google, you name it, doesn't matter. Love and appreciate them. We're still going to do what we need to do. But we've given them so much control over us that we forget that, whoa, hold on, put the brakes on. These guys are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And are they doing the most ethical things? Probably not. But at whose expense? Ours. And we really have to rethink these relationships that we have with a lot of these entities. But if we start focusing on wealth within our own communities, opening up little small mom and pop shops, and you mom and pop shops, I'm going to have to break y'all down too. Because a lot of y'all are just mom and pops, and we understand that. So it's cooling down. But not having the smarts and the brilliance that comes with the business element. We're not telling you that you can't operate. We want all of you to be able to be as successful as anyone. But sometimes you allow yourself pride and dignity get in the way of good advice. All right. And that's more or less what I'm saying. We have to rethink our strategy. We have to make sure that we're not competing against that. We're not competing against each other, and not even competing against the outside sources. But in the meantime, we have to work together for our community first and foremost. And poor, as I say, doesn't see any color. Does not see any color. Poor is poor. And I trust me when I tell you, firsthand, seeing it every single day. I love my job. I respect my peers. I enjoy the company of every single soul that I get to engage with. But I'm in your schools. I'm telling firsthand about the dynamics of how our schools are more or less, well, at least within our community, because I can only start within my community first and then work my way out. And hopefully I'm meeting that audience, because that's ultimately what this is all about. Meeting those like-minded individuals who will take 10 seconds to go, hey, you know what? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let me listen a little bit further. Right. So research findings has indeed shown that money tends to circulate for longer durations within African American communities compared to other demographics. A landmark study conducted by Dr. Maggie Anderson, author of Black Years, One Family's Quest to Buy Black in America, Racially Divided Economics, found that the dollar circulates within African American communities for only 6 hours. I mean, just think about that for a second. 6 hours. Our money used to circulate just like the others, that this compared to up to 28 days in other ethnic groups. Why? It used to be within that realm. What happened? What are we doing that's wrong? That's incorrect. What is it? We have to figure that part out. But before we even get to that part, we have to understand one thing about us, that we need to know how money works. That's it. We can fix this gap. There's no problem in fixing the gap. The problem that I see that's within our communities is that we just take it to that next level when it's not necessary. It's not necessary. We have to hold on to our resources prior to thinking that, okay, we can just go ahead and give it out. But first and foremost, we got to educate ourselves. We got to make sure that we have the understanding of how it works first and foremost before we can start doing other elements. And that one, first and foremost, that I'm going to constantly keep putting out there is your transaction method tool. Your transaction method tool. You have to make sure that you are using a building transaction method tool. The other elements that are going to come along the way will help you, obviously, no question, because finance is multifaceted. And you have to go about it in that manner. It's a business. And the more that you understand how that business works, the more you're going to be able to actually make that business grow for you and for those who are also seeking that assistance from you. All right? That's why this is a community thing. We have to do this as a community. One individual thinking they can do it all by themselves, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're going to need the assistance of those who can, again, render that aid. You know what I forgot to tell you guys? Make sure you go out and you send that link. We're about 23 minutes in, and I'm going to be wondering, not wondering, but looking to see if there's any questions. If you have questions, please let me know. Drop a few into the StreamYard if you have one. I'm on, as I said, I'm on YouTube. We're also equally on Facebook. So as you're tuning in, drop a line or drop a question, and I will definitely jump right to it and get you an answer if it's within my scope. If not, then I'll definitely direct you to an area where you can definitely get the resource that you're looking for. All right, so we know what we got to do. We know exactly what we have to do. And our job is to get out there and do it. Right? That's it. That's it. We're talking about 6 hours compared to up to 28 days for other racial groups. This research underscores the importance of internally supporting African-American businesses and promoting economic empowerment within these communities. It's imperative. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, you want to help African-American communities. It's awesome that you're doing what you need to be doing when it comes to student loans. That is more than brilliant. I believe your policies has only strengthened not just our economy, but it has done, in my opinion, it has done wonders for those who understand the brilliance and the importance of what your administration is doing. Not going to take anything away from predecessors or other presidents. They all have their pluses and their negatives, but I can tell you one, there's a negative out there that we do not want to explore any longer. There is. And I'm not going to hear this, is, as I said before, it's not a political show. These things are intertwined. I can't help it but say the importance of understanding that we're going to touch on other subjects that, I'm sorry, they fit right there. But the economy is doing great. The administration, again, in my personal opinion, is doing exactly what it needs to be doing because I understand the money that affects my community. And my community could be doing a lot better if they themselves were more educated on how that money works. As I said, I watch the Dow every single day. I watch the NASDAQ every single day. I watch the S&P. I watch multiple stocks. I watch the cryptocurrency. I watch the Forex market. I watch money make money. And it's crazy how much money is being made. It is insane. So we can't sit here and say, oh, the economy is so bad because some pundit on another radio show or another TV station is saying how bad the economy is. That's again, a blatant, I'm not going to say a blatant lie. Maybe his pockets might not be as fat as they were, but I can tell you right now, the pockets of those who should be getting fatter can definitely get fatter. That is for certain. So it's really important to make sure that our money is doing what it needs to be doing in our communities, and clearly much longer than 6 hours. Right. Furthermore, studies have shown that supporting Black-owned businesses can have significant economic and social benefits. For examples, a report from the Association of Empire Opportunities, AOE, found that the increasing revenue of Black-owned businesses by just 1% could create thousands of new jobs and contribute billions to the U.S. 1%? That's laughable. If I was in a business, I can get that at a shrink alone. 1%. And I was doing, for a lot of the companies that I was working for, I was making at least 8 to 12. Yes, I got into a heated debate with one of my colleagues about, he was the 6'4", a white, Caucasian individual. He just knew he just was better than everybody else who was walking the face of the planet. But nothing more than just that, as two colleagues, two grown men having a discussion. So I had to bring it to his attention that, bro, you're nowhere near on the same level as me. So I brought his review, my review, 1.2, 8.7, just crazy killing. Why? Because you treat people with dignity. You understand the importance of why we're all here at this place of business, and you go out and you do what you know you need to do. Period. Bottom line. You leave all the other side, all the other shows, all these shenanigans, everything else that doesn't belong inside that business space, you leave that to the side. You focus on what you have to do. Taking care of those people, taking care of those customers, and those people come first, which is your workers. So unions, even you guys got a little bit backwards too. Oh, I've had the opportunity of working with 5 of them as well. So I'm coming from experience, not just blabbing because I got some wisdom underneath my chin. All right, I'm talking from experience. And unions, you got some work to do. Businesses got a whole bunch, but you are right there with them. Right there with them. And I hold you equally accountable for allowing a process that allowed for your workers to be dumbed down when it comes to understanding how their money works. That's unforgivable. But I'm going to give you a pass right now, and hopefully you'll get on board with making sure that every single last one of your members have what they're supposed to have, not this tiered down system that create your seniority, no question about it. But segregating individuals into these categories of where I'm going to do more for tier 6 than I am going to do for tier 1, you've lost something there. The word union means bring all together. It doesn't mean unionize and then segregate within the union. Don't make sense. Come on, wake it up. All right, so again, in conclusion, circulating wealth within African American communities is critical for promoting economic empowerment, building social capital, and fostering community resilience. By supporting Black-owned businesses, investing in local initiatives, and prioritizing economic solidarity, individuals and institutions can contribute to a long-term prosperity and well-being of African American communities. African American communities are moneymakers, and they've always been moneymakers because we like stuff. And let me tell you, my people, it's okay to like stuff. It is okay. But you shouldn't be liking stuff at 18 and 21 and 28 and using, again, I have to blame the industry. Not blame. I would take that word back. I have to give the industry its, I got to think this one out now. I have to hold them accountable. I have to hold them accountable to exploiting their product by not putting it into the hands of those who really should be benefiting from it and allowing another market to spring up, which is the predatory lending market. So we talked about that a few weeks back. That predatory lending market should have never even existed had the banks did what they needed to do by all its citizens. All its citizens. And we can go on and on and on about individual banks. And I can tell you horror stories about every single one of them, because if you know what I know, and a lot of people don't know what I know, I've watched the C-SPANs of when the CEOs have to go down there. I've read the financial committee understandings and got what I needed to get to be able to talk to you about how they get away with crazy stuff. I mean, completely crazy stuff. And they're to blame. But we have to own up to our part, as I said. But we got to think long term. We got to think long term. Let's get that quick bread while we can, because it's out there. Alone, if you think about, if we brought financial literacy back into the communities of color and really put more than just that 1% that they're talking about, 1% creating, imagine if we put 9%, imagine if we put 15%. What that would do, not only just for the U.S. economy, what that would do for your inner soul, your inner peace of knowing that your financial stability is now intact. And all you have to do is just your part. Regardless of what still is going on out there in the world, do your part. And your part is to, I'm going to constantly keep saying it, know how money works. When you know how money works, it's going to work for you. When you do not, it's not that it's working against you, but it's definitely working harder for those who knows how it's supposed to be working, and it should be working harder for you. It is ultimately whose money? Yours. I think J.G. Wentworth says that, right? Not promoting anyone, but I just like the commercial where it says J.G. Wentworth is my money and I want it now. Well, think about your money that you keep giving to these businesses and all of these other entities. Nothing wrong with consumerism. I'm all for it. I think it's important. I like new stuff. I like nice stuff. But I shouldn't be liking nice stuff by not being responsible when I put it on the credit card by making sure that I keep my contractual obligations. That's not liking new stuff. That's trying to get over. And sometimes there are those individuals who do. And again, it shouldn't ruin it for the others. It should just let enforcement or whatever the mechanism that they need to do to recover, because businesses, you might penalize an individual, but you definitely recover your losses. There isn't a business out there today. If you don't know how to recover your losses, then you're not a real business. But the businesses that I know who are making out hand over foot, oh, trust me when I tell you, they're recovering their losses, and they're recovering them losses real good. At whose expense? Ours. We just have to be smarter. We have to think a lot more like a business. And once we do, we'll be able to do the things that we need to do. So supporting Black-owned businesses. Advocate for supporting and investing in Black-owned businesses to foster economic growth and empowerment within African American communities. That's that right there. Supporting Black-owned businesses. Supporting Black-owned businesses. Supporting Black-owned businesses. We may have a problem with supporting Black people in general, but that goes back to, again, Willie Lynch letters. I heard something briefly that said, oh, they were fake. Well, let me think about that for a minute. They needed to be able to create slaves because I'm sure no ordinary person would just let somebody just do whatever they want to them. They had to scare them to whatever belief. So yeah, if you do some atrocities, you probably will create individuals that will be subservient to you. And if you keep doing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and it becomes inbred in that psyche, well, yeah, you could probably get individuals who could be inferior. Well, I don't need to tell you about it. I need you to go and do your own research too, which is read those letters. And if you apply that to other industries, then you get a subservient individual who is going to do what? Just whatever it is that you say. You're going to create a minimum wage. And people are going to be happy with just getting a job because they have a job, but you're still getting a minimum wage. You don't even have the dignities of that job, which you used to have. That's the part that really drives me crazy. You used to have all of those comforts and those benefits that came with working. And why are they gone? That's another time, another show for another time. But we really have to be looking at the businesses and fostering economic growth within these communities, within our own community. Investing in Black-owned businesses isn't just about supporting individual entrepreneurs. It's about investing in the economic prosperity and empowerment of entire communities. That's what it's about. And here are some support these businesses is critical. Why? Why we should be supporting Black-owned businesses. Why? Economic empowerment. Black-owned businesses are vital contributors to the economic well-being of African American communities. When these businesses thrive, they create jobs, generate wealth, and contribute to the overall economic development of communities. That's for any community. So this is universal. You don't just need this for my community. You can do this in other communities. And I'm hoping that we do take this to that next level and bring it into other communities, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. Nothing. I think it's important that we start including other communities, but definitely by first, but got to take care of home. Got to take care of home. So we have to, again, make sure that we're doing our part in that area. Addressing wealth disparities. Historically, African Americans have faced systemic barriers to economic opportunities, resulting in significant wealth disparities. Supporting Black-owned businesses is a tangible way to address these disparities by circulating wealth within the communities and creating pathways to economic advancements. Yonkers is pretty a popular place. Why? Because if you know the history of it, it's the fifth borough. If you equally know the history of it, it's had some racial tensions that I believe still linger today. Still linger today, because something about this one thinks that they're getting more than this one. In trillion-dollar economies, this, again, I'm going to keep throwing that out there because I think we have lost our way when we're fighting over pennies, nickels and dimes, quarters, 50-cent pieces. When the jingle is all we hear down here, but the crisp is what we hear and see up there. That doesn't work for me. It's not smart, and it's only reason why it's not smart is because we don't know how that money should truly be working within our own communities. Supporting Black-owned businesses will shift not the whole paradigm into our understand. Absolutely not. And for those who constantly get scared just by seeing an intelligent Black man talk about it, that's again, you don't reside in the space in which I reside, because you can still be making out. You don't lose nothing because we are coming to the party. You gain more dance moves. All right. So cultural perseverance. Black-owned businesses often reflect the unique cultural heritage and identity of African American communities. By supporting these businesses, we preserve and celebrate the cultural diversity, enriching our society as a whole. Again, enriching our what? Society as a whole. Society. as a whole. As a whole, we have contributed in every possible way. We have shown our dominance in just about every possible category. So where is still the fear, as if we're going to do something, as if we're going to take over? And I don't think that of any particular ethnic group other than one particular one being led by somebody who wants to be a dictator for a day. Well, wants to be a dictator. He might have said, oh, for one day I'll dictate, but he's going to be a dictator. All right. And that's it. Not a political show. It's just an understanding, all intertwined. All right. So we have to be making sure that inclusive. We don't need to be exclusive, but we need to be focusing on making sure that our communities are thriving. And the best way for our communities to thrive is to get educated first and foremost. And this doesn't take decades. It doesn't take any more research. Oh, we need to study. No, it doesn't. You know what it takes for local, state, and federal? It takes a willing participant. It takes somebody like what you're seeing right here, giving you, not just you, but the individuals out there, this information. That's what it takes. It takes an individual who doesn't mind putting in the work to receive the compensation. That's what it takes. It takes individuals who understand that our communities should be thriving versus what they're now being subjected to, which is generations of instability when it comes to financial understanding. That's what it takes. And those of you who are like-minded and want to see these types of steps going in the right directions, well, let's make it move. Let's make it happen. Let's do this before the next presidential cycle. We got what? What is that? November. So it's June, July, August, September, October, November. So we got 5 months, 6 months. November 5th is the election. So we got 5 months. Let's do 5 months by November 1st. Let's put something in place, something in action where we can bring the students that I have. Let's focus on that. I already have a group of students that I would love to be able to show this is how life is supposed to be, not just off my dime, but off their work, their contribution of understanding how money truly works. Let's put together a nonprofit organization, which I already have a grant writer. I already have individuals who are willing to step up. Let's create a community center that focuses on financial literacy. That makes sure if academia isn't going to do it, the community will definitely step up and do it for our youth. Primarily our youth. I came back here with the grandiose plan of saving our adults, but I just found out, not I just found out, but I now come to the realization adults are grown. They don't want people telling them what to do. They're grown. You can't tell a 70-year-old or a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old, oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing with my money. Well, if you knew what you were doing with your money, you would have assets versus liabilities. If you knew what you were doing with your money, you wouldn't be pointing the finger at somebody else when you should be pointing the finger at yourself, first and foremost. If you knew what you were doing with money, you would understand that you should be making progressive steps towards that empowerment, that betterment. If you knew what you were doing with your money, you'd be wealthy. Why? Because wealth is passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. I'm not saying that you're not rich. I'm not saying that you don't have the ability to do what you need to do, but that's short-term bread. What does your long-term outlook look like? That's what I'm talking about right here. We're going to do for our community first and foremost, but could you imagine if we stretch that out to the other communities that we're fighting against? And for me, it doesn't add up. But I know why we're doing it. And now I think we need to equally make sure that those others equally understand. We know why we're doing it, and we need to stop. Just that simple. Need to stop. So did I get a question or two? Nothing yet at the moment? Well, you know I'm good with that because I can keep doing this. This is a water spigot. Once you turn it off, turn it on, it don't turn off. It turns off when the time is time to turn off. But as it's flowing right here, this is great. This is, again, I say part 4. Part 1s, 2, and 3, go back and check those out either on Facebook or on YouTube. Parts 1, 2, and 3. This is a multi-leveled series that we're going to be doing here. Just we got to go through the history. We got to go through why and what would be the steps that we would need to take in order for us to pull ourselves out of that. And once we do that, once you know the history, it makes a lot more sense. It gets a lot more easier when we know the history behind why we're where we are. All right. Diverse representation. Supporting Black-owned businesses promotes diversity and inclusion within the business community. It ensures that diverse voices are heard, perspectives are valued, and opportunities are accessible to all. And that's another important piece. That again, when someone excludes you from a conversation, you feel kind of like pushed to the side, like you don't matter. And I don't think that's what we should continuously, even our youth today, we should include them in. I keep saying it over and over and over. When I'm in class and I'm teaching, I tell them that they're a vital piece of how I'm able to do my job because of their voice, what they have to tell me about how I'm giving them that information. And it's very important that they get that information, or we're going to continue that cycle of we're not valuing those individuals, and we just need to add more inclusion of those individuals. So we have to have a nice, diverse representation of youth, seniors, business professionals, academic professionals. It doesn't matter. We all have to be on that same page when it comes to growth. And I'm talking about financial growth. It's not about individual accolades. Those will come. It's about what we need to do to make sure that we are building and representing all of those groups that need to be represented. In the marginalized communities, there's a bunch of individuals. Long-term impact. Investing in Black-owned businesses isn't just about short-term solutions. It's about an investment in the future. By providing resources, mentorship, and support to Black entrepreneurs today, we lay the foundation for sustained economic growth and prosperity tomorrow. We laid down a foundation. And that's what you need first and foremost before you build any structure is a foundation, a solid foundation. I stand on a solid foundation because my faith is what guides me through these turbulent waters. Solid foundation because I have a true respect of fellow man. Solid foundation because I'm a human being first, and it doesn't matter your ethnicity or your cultural understandings. It matters that you are hurting, and financially, I have a solution. But you got to put in that work. I'm not building your house for you. By no stretch of the imagination would I build you your castle, but we've been doing that over and over for the last decades, centuries. I'm not doing that anymore. That's absolutely insane. But I will definitely help those who are looking to create that foundation, no question about it. And then you can do the rest, because once you have that foundation, you're not going to stop there. There would have to be some economic turbulence in the way that things are going. There is no economic turbulence. There might be some turbulence here and there, ebbs and flows. But if you knew what I knew, if I showed you what I have found, researched on, you would probably look at it and go, wow, that's crazy. But yes, we have to focus on these things. We have to lay that foundation. Once we lay that foundation, there's nothing more that need be done or need be said. We can continue where we left off. In conclusion, supporting and investing in Black-owned businesses is not only a matter of economic growth, but also a matter of social justice and equality. It's an investment in the collective prosperity and empowerment of African-American communities with far-reaching benefits for society as a whole. So it's really important. This is much, much bigger than just me. And we should really be thinking about how do we go about it? How do we go? No, let me take that back. Not how we go about it, because I already got that. How do we come together? What do we have to do? What kind of a forum? Where do we have to? I have this idea. I'm going to be looking at some spaces here over the next couple of months, and I got a birthday coming up. So let's say we got our November time frame. Now let's say we meet up prior to that, somewhere around that July 1st time frame. And then we can network at that point. We can sit down, break bread, have a conversation about, prioritizing what needs and so forth and so on. And as I said, definitely being inclusive to what's going on. We definitely need to be focusing on the things that, as I said, that include the community. So July 14th, birthday, we can get together, break bread. That's the meet and greet before we take on and tackle the big one in November. What do you think? Just throwing out some ideas. Hopefully we can get together on something like that. I would love it. All right. So policies, advocacy. Ooh, we got to talk about the bad stuff now. Are they really helping us, or are they hurting us? Are they setting up more and more roadblocks for us, or are they doing the things that we really need them to do? So we're going to have to discuss the importance of advocating for policies that address systemic inequality, promoting fair lending practices, and support wealth building opportunities for African American communities. Again, for African American communities. And these African American communities are diverse now. They have a cadre of different ethnic groups all together, and it is okay. It is okay. I love our melting pot of what we call the United States of America. I love it, and we should embrace it. We should want more of it. We shouldn't keep putting up boundaries and blockages that only make the rich richer and the poor keep getting poorer. And it's a lot to do with policies as well. So that's why I said it's all intertwined. It all mixes together. And our job is not to get tied up on this one and that one. We're still all fighting for pennies. And we should stop fighting for pennies. And it goes back to, how many times have I said it already? It goes back to what? What does it go back to? Really? You don't know? You remember? Okay. Exactly how money works. That's what it always goes back to. How does your money make money for you? What do you do with the responsibilities that come with credit? How do you make sure that your employer is paying you properly? What investments do you have to really invest in that's going to create long-term opportunities that pass down wealth from generation to generation? But first and foremost, you got to be able to get it. Before you can do absolutely anything, you have to be able to put it into your hands, reward yourself for that labor, no question, and then you have to go out there and be able to make it work for you. And that's where we come in. That's where I come in with that one building block. But as I told you before, here's someone who's even more powerful than I am in that space of where she resides, and that's Dr. Yana B. You're probably thinking, wow, this man really appreciates that lady. Well, it's not a matter of appreciation. It's a matter of the quality of the individual and what she brings to the table for all of you who don't know her yet. Yeah, I'm grateful to be just in the space that she resides in. So do I appreciate? Overly, as I do the CEO of this network here, Matt McCoy, another brilliant mind who is doing exactly as it is called for at this particular time, bringing talent out there into the world that can do what it needs to do, which is represent our communities and making sure that our communities are doing as they're supposed to doing by holding us accountable to our content and to making sure that it meets the demographic that we're ultimately serving. So it's really important to do what we do. But yes, those policies, we got to talk about them. So advocating for policies that address systemic inequalities, promote fair lending practices, and support wealth building opportunities for African American communities is essential for fostering a more equitable society. And here are a couple of ways of doing that. Addressing historical injustices. African Americans have faced centuries, centuries. I've only been talking about decades, but we can go way back, centuries of systemic discrimination, including slavery, segregation, institutionalized racism. These injustices have led to persistent disparities in wealth, educational employment, and access to resources. Think about this for a second. All of those key building blocks that build communities. Right? The injustices have led to persistent disparities in wealth. Wealth is a generational thing, so it's passed down from one to the next, to the next, to the next. So we've missed out there. Education. I am a teacher in a public school that I truly love doing. I believe it's my calling, and that's why I went from business to academia, because guess what? The kids that we're coaching and teaching today are going to be in the world doing where I just came from. And it's a nice transition. It's a nice mix. It's a nice understanding from being a soldier coming back into the world of today, again, soldiering is different because you're taking commands, you're taking directions, you're taking orders where you can't go back and forth with somebody. You're not soldiering if you're going back and forth with your commanders. You're following the directives of that particular individual who's been put in charge. As long as it's not an unlawful order, you're going to do as a soldier. That's the benefit of raising that hand and taking that oath, which unfortunately a lot of our Congress leaders and our elected officials do not quite understand. Oh yeah, soldier, honorable discharge soldier at that, because I do the job. I go to do the job. But on the way of doing the job, guess what I do? I get smarter. I get more intelligent. I get brighter. I understand now my gift, as we all have our gifts. So it's really important to understand that we have to. The injustices have led to persistent disparity in wealth, education, employment, and access to resources. Policies, advocacy is critical for acknowledging the ratifying the historical injustices. It is, I don't need to say anything more about that. If we focus on the policies that will better our community, it's going to take some time because there's going to be a lot of pushback. But while that pushback is going on for the policy makers, that bread makers, oh man, we could do a lot of damage just by making sure, and I don't mean damage in a constructive way. I mean a lot of helpful damage to your bottom line. All right, closing the racial wealth gap. The racial wealth gap between African Americans and white Americans is staggering and persistent. Allocating for policies that promote the fair lending practices. How is a person unbankable? I'm still trying to figure that one out. How? It only allows for the creation of a third market like predatory lending. That's what it did. Because if those individuals can't get their money, there's another element of business that's going to get that money. And then what do they do with that money? Well, they bring it back into that old manner of business. So again, banks, financial institutions, they work very well together. They don't care how they get that money into their institutions. If I can claim 30, 40, 50, I'm going to go as high as 60% of a population unbankable. Well, that only creates another market, and that's the predatory lending market. Duh. You don't have to be a rogue scholar or an economic professor to understand that part. That's pretty simple. Well, not for everybody, but I guess those who really want change for their community, maybe they'll go to a greater length of understanding how all of this works. And then they'll come back home from traveling the world and doing all of the things. Yes, home is Yonkers for me. I was born and raised right here. And they'll come back home and do the things that they need to do after they have gotten over all of the problematic situations that they may have had with whether it be family or whether it be state or whether it be whatever it is. And now doing exactly as they're supposed to be doing at this particular time in history. Oh, I'm loving myself right now. But yes, we have to focus on policies. All right. All right. So advocating for policies that promote fair lending practices, such as ending discrimination, lending practices, and expanding access to affordable credit. 28% is not affordable credit, folks. That's just basically set up to tell somebody, oh, you know, you're going to get this repossessed in about 5, maybe 8 months, maybe even a year. Oh, you know that your economic situation based off of what you don't know about the economy is going to shatter, and hopefully it doesn't ever do that for you. But we already know that it's going to, as a institution of finance who has studied its consumer. Of course, yes. Prime mortgages, 2008. I don't need to talk about that because those of you who are old as I am know about that. Those of you who aren't as old as I am, you're out protesting about Palestine and Israel over something that you really have absolutely no clue about, but you just got hyped up off of, oh, wait a minute, where do I get my news? Not even from a news outlet. I get my news from a social media outlet. Yeah, that's it. The youth of today, smart as they are, but still not quite connected to the reality. And that's the part that we as the wise generation got to pull them back in. We're about to wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. So promoting economic mobility, systemic inequalities such as unequal access to quality education, employment, and opportunities hinder economic mobility for African Americans. policies that address these disparities, such as investing in education and job training programs, can help break the cycle of poverty and create pathways towards mobility. I'm going to stop right there, and we're going to, let's do this. We're going to start next week with part number 5. Part number 5. I want you to come back. Part number 5. All right. As always, I want to thank you for making the time. You don't have to be here, but you make time to come here. And that's, for me, everything that I could ever possibly want. So what do you think? Your opinion matters. Leave us some comments. Leave us some likes. Leave us some suggestions. Leave us whatever you want to leave us. It's perfectly fine with me, because I'm an inclusive individual, and it's perfectly okay. But if you want to get in touch with me, or how do you get in touch with me, please drop me a line. Text me, 805-428-9424. Give me a jingle, 805-428-9424. Email me at leveragecreditrecovery@gmail.com. That is leveragecreditrecovery@gmail.com. Or our website. We're under construction. We're looking for somebody who wants to put together a website for us. Susan, where are you, my girl? I loved your work the last time. I would love to use you again. Linktree at Leverage Credit Recovery, or Linktree Leverage Credit Recovery. Linktree is pretty cool. If you don't know about Linktree, get to know about Linktree. Thank you very much, everybody. Stay safe, America. Appreciate you. Peace out.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.